having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
You have unread texts from Golf Buds. Would you like me to read them?
Yes.
Okay. Johnny says, what are the nicotine pouches you had on the course? Walker says, 8 milligram on nicotine pouches. Billy says, I love the mint one.
I like that one.
Walker says, me too. By the way, you both stink at golf. LOLOL.
Come on. Carry On nicotine pouches. Shop now at onnicotine.com/group text. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Since we've driven across the state to talk to you, we thought we'd speak in support of the bill. And I would like to thank you and the committee for this opportunity. You know, White Pine is home to the two oldest schools in the state of Nevada. One was built in 1909 and one was built in 1913. We have objective engineering feasibility studies that have a list of deficiencies that include life, safety, and health, in addition to barriers to the quality of education and ADA accessibility. And unfortunately, we just don't have the ability to do much about that without your help. I've spent the last 28 years of my career on this issue, exploring all legally available means. Excuse me. Wow, I did not expect that to happen. To replace these schools, and it's just mathematically impossible. And speaking of hair, I had dark hair and dark mustache. It may or may not have resembled a mullet. But honestly, I just want to thank you for this opportunity for us to be here in person to convey how important this is for our school community. And appreciate your work on this weekend, and we support AB224. Thank you.
White Pine County School District CFO Paul Johnson. And I do not want to embarrass Paul, but that summed up a lot. And by the way, when I came to Ely in 2008, Paul did, in fact, have dark hair. And he had all of his hair. And as trying to resolve this situation has been, Paul is just sitting here going, he's not saying this. Yes, I am. It has been a challenge, and it's been something that I know has been on your agenda since I came to White Pine County. And the fact that you have finally been able to make this happen is so incredibly wonderful. And that you got in all of the votes on the floor of the Assembly and the floor of the House, there was only one no vote. And that has to say something to people recognizing the need. Good morning, by the way.
Well, good morning, Wyatt. And, thanks for having me here. I appreciate that. It was a team effort. We assembled the right army to assault the legislative building. And there were a lot of people that we have to thank. I just happened to be at this longer than anybody else. And honestly, when I was first hired here back in 1997, the voters had approved the building of a new school back in 1993. 2/3 of the voters approved to have a new middle school built up by the high school. And it was one of the things I made a commitment to follow through on when I first started my job back in 1997. So this was really one of the last few remaining things that I felt I had made a personal commitment to do. So I'm really happy to see that the team that we assembled to do this was effective, and that the legislators were finally able to hear our plea. This was probably my 7th time, I think, in front of the legislature, trying to tell them that, look, this math isn't working for us. We are never going to be able to raise enough money to fix our schools, and they need to be fixed.
I mean, it all started out very clear. It was like $7 million, and then it became 10, and then it became 40, and then 60, and now it's $100 million because of all of the costs that have to be done to comply. That's the biggest thing, is complying with the regulations to keep kids safe.
Well, that and construction inflation's been double digits for quite a while. So you're right. I mean, back in '93, there was $7.5 million that was reserved to build a new middle school at that time. We weren't able to afford to issue those bonds, and those bonds expired before they could be issued because we had some financial adversity. And the next one was 11 million, and then it was 20 million, 30 million, 50 million, 60 million. The last session it was 60 million, and this session nothing else changed, just the cost of construction changed, and now the estimate was 98.5 million. And so the longer that this would have gone unresolved, the further the difference would have been between the amount of money that we can raise, which is about $10 million, and the amount of money that it's going to cost for a new school facility. I mean, in 2 years from now, it could conceivably be $120 million.
Let us hope that we're able to get this done before the price goes up again.
Agreed.
It's like you remember you've been around long enough that you remember that between the time you went into work in the day and the time you got out, the gas price jumped 30 cents. We've had those days in our life, and not that long ago. But we watched this, and the only thing that I have been asked, and I want you to address this, is getting kids dropped off and picked up. Is accessibility for parents to get the kids there and get out, is that going to be an issue where the new school is proposed?
Well, I would say no, because we're going to actually have that planned as part of the facility construction. As you know, at our White Pine Middle School, the drop-off is on streets, the building's on a highway. There's no recessed area where traffic can go in and drop students off and be protected from traffic. Yeah. So that's going to be all part of whatever the new school design would be. The thought is that there's still a lot of discussion that has to take place with respect to the design of the school, what we do with the existing schools that we have, and that's something that the community owns, so I'm sure it'll be a community-based decision. But we want to make sure that the new school has all of the things that other students have in other areas, where they have a nice school, they have a nice area where they can play securely, they can have a secure campus and a safe campus, a healthy campus, and have parking where you don't have to park along the streets in front of the neighbors' homes, and a central point of access that would improve, access to the property from, parents and have a secure campus so that, the students will be safe from people who may have bad intentions.
Yeah, bad intentions, exactly. That's one of the biggest issues with our current school, because you're right there on a major highway. You could grab a kid and you could be out of town in 30 seconds or less. And how shocked were legislators when they realized not only that, when they realized that for kids to go to recess, they had to cross a state highway on the highway level, not a nice little overpass.
Well, I think for many of them it was compelling. And for those, Adam Young, first of all, did a great job of coordinating a lot of the PR and the individuals to get them to come to Ely in order to see the facility, because this is something you have to see to believe. Hearing about it doesn't do it justice. But those folks who came to the school really understood the need. And then we had to explain that, mathematically, it just was not going to be feasible for us to do anything about this on our own.
And it's got to be done. It's got to be done.
It is. Our kids deserve the same opportunities that kids in Las Vegas and Reno have.
And we're still looking at a couple of years before we can even really get started on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's a whole process. The state has to issue their bonds. Yeah. There has to be a school design. There has to be, I think it might be guided by the Department of Public Works. So, yeah, there's a pretty lengthy process before there's actually a facility built. So it's a few years down the road.
Paul, a happy retirement to you. The clock has got us here. Thanks for stopping by. It is great to see you, and happy trails, and enjoy retirement.
Well, thank you very much.
Now you got it done. Bill O'Reilly is next, and CBS News comes up at 9.
Now just go away.
having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
You have unread texts from Golf Buds. Would you like me to read them?
Yes.
Okay. Johnny says, what are the nicotine pouches you had on the course? Walker says, 8 milligram on nicotine pouches. Billy says, I love the mint one.
I like that one.
Walker says, me too. By the way, you both stink at golf. LOLOL.
Come on. Carry on nicotine pouches. Shop now at onnicotine.com/group text. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.